I'm at Ward High Tech in Sheffield. I'm with Chris Farrington. Now, the topic of conversation in this video is this Vesta, or this Hwacheon Vesta VMC. Now, a lot of times we look at VMCs and people think, well, actually, is there much to say about a vertical machining centre beyond the fact that it's maybe a 3-axis machine and it's got a FANUC control and a certain spindle speed? Well, yes, there is, because in this video we're going to pick out some of the features that make this particular model and this range a premium quality machine tool that you should consider. Chris, firstly, I want to ask you about the spindle on this machine, because this is slightly different, isn't it, to what some offer. Tell us about the changes or the differences.
I mean, we have a spindle here, a 12K spindle, and it differs from some machine tools in that the bearings in the head are actually drip-fed an oil air mist, which is controlled by a separate unit on the machine. As opposed to many machines who just use grease pack bearings, grease pack for life. Obviously, grease can deteriorate. The oil air mist is a better system, and it's constantly being fed into the bearings to keep them constantly lubricated.
Okay, like you say, a lot of spindles are grease packed. So would you expect a better longevity or a longer life with this spindle?
Yes, because you've not got the deterioration factor to take into account with grease. I mean, grease will, over a period of time, grease will harden, and that can lead to premature failure.
What about the heat and the growth of maybe a spindle or that area as a result of being or having this oil within it? How do you keep it cool?
Well, the combination unit behind the machine is actually twofold. It's providing chilled oil, which is being fed around a cooling jacket around the outside of a spindle cartridge. So that's keeping the temperature of the spindle constant, preventing any overheating. And then the module is also, as I said earlier, producing a very fine air oil mist, which is then being lubricated into the bearings constantly. So the bearings are constantly under constant lubrication.
Impressive to know. Now, you've also got a high pressure coolant on this as standard, haven't you?
We have, yeah. Again, that's a freestanding unit behind the machine, and it's a 30 bar unit, self-contained with a high pressure pump inside, and the coolant is controlled directly from the module itself. So you're feeding coolant which is being taken from the machine tank directly through a separate unit, which is filtered through a high pressure pump and then directed immediately up to the spindle via a rotary coupling.
Talking about the points we've mentioned, are you impressed with this machine since it's been here?
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Let's talk about the build of it. I can see it moving in the background. Yeah. Pretty stable?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we found that as opposed to other machining centres we've worked on, that the stability and the rigidity of this machine is actually way superior to what we've seen before.
Okay, now when I look at the control on this machine, I've got to point out in the brochure here, and this is one of the interesting areas here, you've got a lot of features on this control that I've not necessarily heard of before, and that may be unique to you. We're only going to pick on a couple of them, because if you want to find out more, you can contact the guys here at Ward High Tech.
Yeah, there are.
But that's okay. The first one I wanted to mention is about the thermal displacement. Now, we know a bit about thermal compensation, but tell us about the sensors on this machine and how it works.
Okay, yeah, we have a number of custom screens, Hwacheon custom screens, all been developed in the Hwacheon factory using their own software, and one of them, as you say, is Hwacheon thermal displacement control. So we do have a screen within the control, HDDC, and we can immediately see that we have a number of settings here. We have a reference temperature, all factory preset. We can see immediately that we have a machine temperature at the moment of 21 degrees.
So how many sensors would you have around the machine?
I think there are approximately 9 sensors at strategic points in the column, in the bed and in the spindle. If we page down, we can then see that we have all the individual sensors here, and it's telling us where the sensors are located. So in the upper frame, in the head upper frame, in the bottom of the head frame, in the center of the head frame, in the front of the spindle, the rear of the saddle.
And it's monitoring all of these, and in the event that an area of the machine gets hot and grows, it will alter.
Yeah, it's automatically compensating. So we can see the individual temperature of every sensor being monitored at all these different strategic points. And we can see here this is the count, so it's counting all of the sensors, and we can see it scrolling through as it checks all the sensors and records the temperature.
It's incredible, Chris. I want to. I mean, if you look at the actual brochure here, there's in fact there's 7 or 8 features that we could talk about, but I'm just going to pick out one more for this video. I want you to tell me about maybe, let's say, the cutting feed optimization, or tool load, either of those two.
Okay. Yeah, we have another system here called Optima. You can see there, Optima is basically an adaptive feed control system. So as the machine is working, I mean, we're only running in fresh air at the moment, but as the machine is cutting, it's monitoring the load in the axes. As you can see at the moment, we've got very little load because we're only freewheeling around. But under cutting conditions, the load of each axis is being monitored. We've got factory preset boundaries set in here, and if any of the loads go outside of those boundaries, what the machine does is automatically adjust the feed rate on the machine. So irrespective of what you've got programmed in the system, if it detects abnormal load, it will automatically adjust the feed rate to compensate for the load being applied at that moment in time, increasing productivity and also reducing abnormal tool wear.
Wow, okay, and then just to mention a few, cutting feed optimization system, Hwacheon Spindle displacement control system. A lot of these features on this machine that you need to look at, and you need to contact Ward High Tech to find out more. These Vesta machines from Hwacheon proving very popular here at Ward High Tech, aren't they? Sold machines already. Contact the guys through the website wardhightech.co.uk. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris.
You're very welcome. Thank you.